I'm Greg Tepper. That's Greg Powers. And this is This Week
in Recruiting.
This Week in Recruiting with Greg Powers, our beloved recruiting analyst from Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout and follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. Hey, Powers.
It feels good to be beloved.
Well,
might have been an exaggeration.
Yeah.
I mean, the tide has turned from
earlier today.
Yeah, from
earlier today. When I asked Max, I was like, "Are we doing This Week in Recruiting?" And he goes, "Yeah." And I go, "But I just hate Powers."
Yeah.
God.
Yeah.
Anyway, Powers is here. We're doing This Week in Recruiting. A lot to get to. Big week in recruiting. Suddenly,
Man, it's been busy.
It's been very, very busy. Let's start with our prospect on the rise. Prospect on the rise. We're going to focus this week on Fort Bend Bush, 2020 linebacker. His name's Kenneth Phillips, but he goes by Trey.
Yep.
This is a guy who has added a bunch of new offers from a bunch of schools that are known for hitting each other, hitting their opponents pretty hard. Army, Rice, Georgia Tech, East Carolina. He was really, really good at the Adidas camp down there in Houston. This is a guy who's starting to turn some heads.
And I love to talk about recruits where I can say, "I told you so." So that's one of my favorite. It's one of my favorite topics in recruiting. Mm-hmm. I told you so. Kenneth Phillips was going to be pretty good. He was the MVP at the Next Level Athlete Top 100 Showcase in Houston, and he's one of those guys who I think his recruiting took a while to take off because he could play running back, or he does play running back, linebacker, safety. But I think his true calling probably on the next level is going to be at linebacker, and it just took the colleges a little bit of time to see that he had the size, frame, and physique to play down in the box. And once they figured that out and saw his mobility, his lateral ability, chase and catch ability, that's when things started taking off for him. So he was one of those guys I think colleges just had to see in person. But you don't have to see him in person if the same guy comes around next year. Just ask me who to offer in just ask me who to offer in January.
Call Next Level Athlete. They'll let you know. He does. I do think it's one thing we don't want to bury the lead on is he did pick up offers from Indiana and Georgia Tech.
Yes.
So we're talking. I know that people, Indiana and Georgia Tech are not exactly known as football powerhouses right now, but those are Power 5 offers, and Power 5 offers tend to beget more Power 5 offers.
And and one school so far in the state to keep an eye on, I would think, is Rice, close to home. They've been doing a really bang-up job in recruiting this year. And, Trey Phillips seems like he's a Rice type of kid academically, so that may be one to keep an eye on.
Man, it was a big week of commitments this week. Ton of them. Jonathan Davis, the safety from South Oak Cliff, went to Texas Tech. Pair of South Lake Carroll kids committed, and Blake Smith committed. The tight end committed to Texas A&M. That's a great get for them as they just continue to clean up on the tight end market. Center Addison Penn went from South Lake Carroll, committed to Boston College.
Steal.
Isaiah Johnson, the running back from Lubbock Cooper, committed to North Texas. That's another really good get for them. Cade Renfro, the quarterback from Stephenville, committed to North Texas as well. Dominique Johnson, the running back from Crowley, committed to Mizzou, and then defensive end Mitchell Tyler from McKinney committed to Baylor. But none of them are commit of the week, because our commit of the week I think has to be the one. What a day Monday was for Mr. Ja'Quinden Jackson.
Yeah, no doubt, man.
The quarterback for Duncanville. He of course was revealed to be on the secondary cover of Dave Campbell's Texas Football, right there. But also he committed to the University of Texas. Had offers from all over, including Texas A&M, Oklahoma, LSU. Plain and simple, that's just a really good get for the Texas Longhorns.
And it's going to create an interesting point of conversation, I think, throughout the year, because Texas now has 2 commitments on their list who could play quarterback, and Hudson Card and Ja'Quinden Jackson being 2 of the best players in the state, regardless of position. And we saw what Hudson Card could do as a wide receiver when Matthew Baldwin was still there. Ja'Quinden Jackson, when he broke onto the recruiting scene, was really viewed as a guy who would probably play safety or wide receiver when he arrived onto the college scene. But I think, especially through the playoff run last year, he established himself as a guy who should have serious consideration to play quarterback in college. And I think that's he earned that through his play. And he's continued to improve upon his accuracy. He's got a big arm. He's a dangerous threat every time he pulls the ball down to run. He just sees the field so well. So it's going to be interesting. Where does he play?
Yeah, the thing that strikes me, and we were having this conversation off air, is it seems to me that right now he's running kind of a variation of Texas's offense as it is.
Right.
Like Duncanville's offense is in a lot of ways kind of power spread, you'd call it.
Yeah.
They spread the ball out and they do throw the ball a fair amount, but they also lean when it gets to big boy time. They turn to Ja'Quinden Jackson and they say, we need you to get these tough yards. And that's kind of what Texas is doing right now with Sam Ehlinger. And it's very interesting. I think, to me, I look at that and I say, I wonder if there's a schematic fit already.
Well, and the Texas quarterback is going to get a certain percentage of the carries. That's been established. It was established when Tom Herman was at Ohio State with J.T. Barrett. It's been established now with Tom Herman's at Texas with Sam Ehlinger. So
it was established at Houston whenever he was with Greg Ward. With Greg Ward Jr.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to get carries, and that's what I look at Ja'Quinden Jackson. I go, okay, well, I mean, if you need a guy to tote the rock, he can tote the rock.
And I think a key point within that offense that made Tom Herman's offense good at every level is that they can lean on that quarterback to bruise out 3, 2, 1 yards on third downs. Around the goal line, they're a threat to score a touchdown with the ball in their hands. And Ja'Quinden Jackson is literally that guy.
Yeah.
So it's going to create some competition, which I think is great in the quarterback room, and I think they're going to give him a shot to play QB first. And don't be surprised if Ja'Quinden Jackson's able to silence some of his critics and doubters at that position if he gets a chance to do it.
It's Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout and follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at Next Level D1. All right, let's get to our Interclassman of the Week. We're going to 2022, so a kid who's about to start his sophomore year, and a guy who I believe he played varsity in the playoffs in their run to the state championship game at Beaumont Westbrook. It's Bryce Anderson, the 6 foot 180-pound safety / quarterback.
Calling him an athlete.
For Westbrook. This is a guy who, and I don't know if you have this note. He scored more than 62 touchdowns for his 9th grade team last year.
I did not have that note, but
62 touchdowns.
That's not bad.
I don't care if you're playing Pee-wee. If you score 62 touchdowns, you're doing something right. Bryce Anderson could be the next big thing there for Westbrook.
And I think he's somebody to really keep an eye on this year. They need to replace some talent. They were into the state championship game 1 year ago. If they want to return to that state championship game, these are the type of guys they're going to have to lean on. It just depends on what position does he break in with the team this year. You'll have to tell me this.
So it seems like they've got a quarterback. They've got a quarterback in Troy Yeoman that I know they like. That was he made 4 starts last year. He's 4-0. Threw the ball about 1,000 yards, 8 touchdowns. He was pretty solid.
But he came in the game. I think he played in the state championship game when we were there last year.
Yeah, maybe. I believe so. Yeah. And so they've got a quarterback in Yeoman that they feel good about. They're moving the JV quarterback Joe Hayes from receiver to quarterback, or from quarterback to receiver this year. I get the feeling that Bryce Anderson, I think that he's too talented to keep on the sideline. Right. I think they're going to put him on defense. It sounds like, and I'd need to call Coach Peavy and ask him. It sounds like they're going to put Bryce Anderson on defense, but I think he's probably going to be the backup quarterback, too.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me at all, especially if he's producing at that level. You got to find a way to get the football in his hands, probably. But he called LSU his childhood dream school when they offered this week. So yeah, I know Beaumont has a great pathway to LSU, the SEC especially, so maybe that's one to really watch already, and it doesn't hurt to get your dream offer when you're getting ready to be a sophomore.
Yeah, not too bad. And so let's get finally to our recruit of the week. Go down to the Brazos Valley to A&M Consolidated and talk about Brian Darby, the wide receiver 2020 to be a senior this year. Right. Picked up big-time offer this week from Oklahoma, and a guy who I know has had a big spring. It sounds weird to say, but he had a really solid year last year for A&M Consolidated. But seems like he's really taken off this spring because he's been on the camp circuit, and also he's shown out on 7-on-7.
I'm going to pull it up really quickly. I think A&M Consolidated's already qualified for the state 7-on-7.
We have a list of that at TexasFootball.com.
Yep, we have a list, TexasFootball.com. I believe that they've already qualified this year, and it wouldn't be a huge surprise based on what I saw Darby doing on the national 7-on-7 circuit. Every tournament I went to, he was like the low-key MVP. He understands how to use his frame, which he's over 200 pounds now, to shield defenders from the football. He has tremendous hands, and for a guy who looks like he could also grow into a potential running back down the line, he has very good athleticism. He can jump. He has good hands and concentration. Can pluck the football out of the air, and really gives him a big advantage in one-on-one situations. So, I think he's one of those guys that Oklahoma sees coming into their offense and can play in multiple roles.
He's a dynamic athlete, a
Right.
guy that I think kind of like what we were talking about with the last gentleman we were talking about, Anderson. You got to get the ball in his hands. You've just got to find a way. It doesn't matter by hook or crook. You got to find a way to keep him involved. And I feel like the Oklahoma offer is a big one. I know he had offers from places like Kansas State. He had offers from places like North Texas. But here is a big-time offer, and you feel like things are heating up for him.
And I can look at that OU offense and see a path to success. They had the tight end / receiver / H-back from Allen, who Kyler Murray – I can't remember his name off the top of my head. But
I would need to look that up.
Kyler Murray threw a lot of touchdowns to him last year, found him in the slot. He was also a good blocker on the edge in the run game, and I really feel like Darby is the type of football player who would fit well in that offense. It wouldn't be a surprise to me at all to see him make a quick commitment to a school like that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's his best offer on his list so far.
Lee Morris.
Lee Morris.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have to look it up.
So
I was going to bother you all day.
that's to me. I mean, he's got some good offers, but to me, far and away, that's his top offer so far. So, I mean, keep an eye on that one.
He's Greg Powers of Next Level Athlete. Follow him on Twitter at GPowersScout. Follow Next Level Athlete on Twitter at NextLevelD1. And, of course, find all his fine work at TexasFootball.com/recruiting. Powers?
Wait. You always do this, and we have recruiting questions from people.
Okay.
I'm trying to kick him out. Not your show.
Go on.
It's the show for the fans.
It's not true.
All right. First question comes from Jacob on the TFT site. He says, what was the final number on the commits to non-Texas school streak?
Oh, yeah. What was that run? Because obviously this past week we had a number of commits. Texas A&M picked up some big-time commitments.
I'll have to look it up. I mean, it went a full month.
Yeah.
We went a full month before we had an in-state commitment. So I will look that up, and I will. Are we able to post in the comments after the show goes?
Oh, you can post. You can reply once you walk out of this room if you want.
I'll reply in the comments after I'm out of the room with what that streak ended up being. I can't remember it off the top of my head, but it was in the 20s.
Yeah.
The second question is from Phil Vaney down at Shadow Creek. He wants to know what position Xavier Alford projects at the next level. Safety or cornerback?
It's a great question to ask because we rate him as a cornerback within the Next Level Athlete system. He's played a lot of safety. I think that he's a guy who could also play nickel, so just say DB to be safe, but he does have the ability to play cornerback, and I think he has a lot of good offers from schools who think that he will project as a CB.
You get the feeling in a lot of ways they that the staff, Brad Butler and company, put him at safety because they want him to be kind of the quarterback of the defense out there. And there's a leadership position there that instead of that he could absolutely single up your best guy and hold his own.
And it's kind of easy for us to, in a way, at Next Level Athlete to put cornerback on him. It's not known to public. You know what I mean? It's just for college coaches to use that system. But I think the safer play is to rate him at safety and see if he can play corner. We've rated him at safety on the DCTF ratings right now, but he could certainly play corner.
Awesome. That's it.
Okay.
Thanks,
Powers.
Let's do it again next week.
Okay, fine, if you insist.